for our 2020 Springfield and Western Mass Inner City Capital Connections cohort. As many of you know, this is the third year helping build and develop a sustainable small business ecosystem in the under-resourced cities and communities in and around Springfield, as well as all the way to the Berkshires. Before telling you all about the exciting changes we've made to the Inner City Capital Connections program, and in the interest of their time pressures, I'd like to first express our appreciation to the MassMutual Foundation and to the Berkshire Bank Foundation for their vision and generosity. They have helped make this program possible. We've trained slightly over 100 small business owners during the last 2 years, during the first 2 years. And I'd like to now give Dennis Duquette from MassMutual, followed by Laurie Kiley from Berkshire Bank, an opportunity to share some thoughts about the COVID-19 crisis and their unwavering commitment to ICIC and to the Inner City Capital Connections program. As many of you know, Dennis Duquette is head of community responsibility and president of the MassMutual Foundation, which has renewed their support recently with a magnificent 3-year commitment. And Dennis, we are profoundly grateful to you, to the leadership of MassMutual, for the confidence you've expressed in us and for the 3-year renewal, which enables us to do some significant forward planning and to really continue to build this small business ecosystem the way it needs to be built to create jobs, economic opportunity, survival and revitalization and resilience for the hard-pressed small businesses of Western Massachusetts. So I'm proud to now introduce Dennis Duquette. Dennis?
Here, albeit virtually, but I think we're all getting really good at this Zoom or Microsoft meetings or whatever your technology of choice is way of getting together. I think this gathering today is really emblematic of just how important it is that we remain connected. And so when I think about, inner city capital connections, to me, the word that always jumps out is connections. And that's what this is about. And in particular, in light of what's gone on with COVID-19, everyone is sort of stepping back and trying to recalibrate and reimagine what our business looks like, how we interact with customers, how do we build our plans. I was looking at a piece in Forbes magazine recently that talked about small businesses in particular. And really, a lot of the steps it laid out in terms of reviewing your finances and budget, reviewing your business plan in light of COVID, and building a realistic timeline. These are things we're all doing. MassMutual is doing this, obviously a much bigger company. But as I always like to say to this cohort, we started as a small company 169 years ago in downtown Springfield, when 31 people came together and actually started an idea that became the Mutual Life Insurance Company. So we understand the great things that can happen, and we also understand the power and the agility that small businesses bring to the local economy. We can't, a thriving economy cannot be as such dependent solely on large companies or government aid or whatever. Small businesses, we know time and time again, are really the engine that build, drive, and thrive our economy. So, the 3-year re-up on our commitment for this initiative is really important. I don't think, it could be any more important than it is right now in light of COVID. And, I wish you a lot of luck. I think, again, the connections that you make through this exercise are really important. You don't know when you may intersect with somebody else on this call 6 months from now, or a year from now, or 5 years from now, and what that person may bring to bear on the prospects of your business. So we wish you great luck. We hope you enjoy this experience. We know this is an experience that brings tremendous success to its participants. So we're very happy to support it and have a wonderful time.
Dennis, thank you. And would you please convey our gratitude to your colleague, Allie Mathias. She has been a rock star and a wonderful partner now into the 3rd year. And we're just delighted with our relationship with her. And we know how much confidence you have in her and her leadership. So please let Allie know how grateful we are for her support.
I will absolutely, Steve. Thank you.
And thanks for joining us. I know you got some time pressures this morning, so we wanted to get you up nice and early.
Thank you. No problem. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right.
So I mentioned Berkshire Bank and the Berkshire Bank Foundation. Laurie Gazillo-Kiley is the director of the Berkshire Bank Foundation. But in addition to that, she's deeply involved in Berkshire Bank's community-based leadership and philanthropy throughout their footprint. When we started working closely with Berkshire Bank 3 years ago, this is the third cohort, we started out really in the Springfield market. That expanded very quickly to the Springfield market and the Hartford market, where we run a cohort in partnership with the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, as well as Berkshire Bank. That's expanded this year to the Boston market. So Laurie is everywhere across the Berkshire Bank footprint, and we are profoundly grateful to you, Laurie. I'll recognize a couple of your colleagues a little bit later in this presentation, but I want to give you an opportunity as the director of the foundation to share why this is important to you and why this fits in with your mission, vision, and values. Laurie Gazillo-Kiley from Berkshire Bank Foundation.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone, for having me and us this morning. And I'm going to, I think, echo a lot of what Dennis just said. The world is certainly a different place than it was not too long ago. And while when you first thought about this journey with Inner City Capital Connections, I'm sure your businesses were in a different place as well, you know, and looking to take that next step of growth, which you're still continuing to do. But I know, you know, now many of our small business and medium-sized businesses are just looking to figure out how to survive at this point. But since this crisis began, I have been heartened to see the outpouring of support to both nonprofit organizations and businesses by many, many people and organizations. And I will say with ICCC, I don't think you could be in better hands. Berkshire Bank and Berkshire Bank Foundation have been committed to supporting small businesses through this crisis, especially Black and Brown owned businesses, which we all know have fewer resources and connections to support them. And about a year ago, Berkshire Bank and its foundation established the priority to support programs and initiatives that work to close the wealth gap. And we have been steadfast in that goal. Providing small business and entrepreneurial support, especially for underrepresented populations, is a key component of that effort. That's why when the COVID-19 crisis began, we committed to providing $3 million in capital to organizations to support this effort, to such organizations as the Black Economic Council, as well as grant funding to collaborative efforts to providing grants to small businesses to help them through this difficult time, because we all know, you know, there's so much need out there. As Dennis mentioned, small and medium-sized businesses are the lifeblood of our communities and a significant driver of economic development, especially in Western Massachusetts. At the same time, you need a thriving local economy in order to create positive social and community impacts, and these two go hand in hand, and I would say this is especially true today. As we face this unprecedented time, support, education, guidance, and capital for our small businesses has never been more important. That's what ICIC does so well, and so the reason that we were so happy to partner with them last year and a couple of years ago now. They have a long history of success in Eastern Massachusetts, and over the last year expanded into Western Massachusetts and Connecticut, and we're pleased to support all of these programs. We have many synergies and similar goals. Our Western Massachusetts business banking team, led by our Pioneer Valley Regional President, Jim Hickson, who many of you probably know, and who's on with us today, I believe, and our Berkshire Regional President, Matt Empremo, are committed to rolling up their sleeves to supporting the growth and development of small businesses in Western Massachusetts. They've been working day and night assisting businesses through the Paycheck Protection Program application process and are continuing to do so. In fact, we were one of the only banks assisting non-customers with PPP applications, because a lot of businesses that don't have relationships with banks were running into challenges with getting those applications processed. Their mission, our business banking team, the mission of that team is to help businesses get to that next level of capacity. And they're thrilled to partner with ICIC to help all of you succeed through this very challenging time, which will be behind us at some point and moving on to prospering even more into the future. We're all working toward the same goal, which is a robust, thriving economy, bursting with new and growing small and medium-sized businesses, many of them run by underrepresented populations aspiring toward the true American dream. So we thank you for inviting Berkshire Bank on this journey. We look forward to supporting you through the process, and we can't wait to see all that is to come in the year ahead. So thank you very much for having me.
Well, thanks so much, Laurie, and for the bank's support throughout your entire footprint. We're grateful for that. I will introduce a couple of your colleagues in just a couple of minutes. I want everybody to know that while I won't be referring to any of the slides in this deck, Diego Portillo Mazal, who's the director of the Inner City Capital Connections program, will. And at the conclusion of this kickoff event, we're going to be sending you the entire deck and all of the nominating partner materials you'll need to create a really robust cohort this year. And I want to note, given the fact that Laurie lives in the Berkshires, lives out all the way out in Western Mass, that last year for the first time we expanded our footprint to Pittsfield and Western Mass into the Berkshires, and we had a lot of participants from that region, and we look forward to continuing to build our presence there because that region is just as hard hit as any other part of the Commonwealth. So thanks, Laurie, for that leadership and helping to expand our footprint. Let me just acknowledge a few people. You mentioned Jim Hickson, Senior Vice President, Regional President of the Pioneer Valley and the Connecticut regions, who's usually a strong presence. When he walks into a room in his jeans and his boots, he makes quite a swath, cuts quite a swath. Jim, I'm not sure you can do it as well on Zoom, but I can see you in my mind's eye. I want to recognize our dear friend Scott Pasquale, the first Vice President of Berkshire Bank, who's been involved with this program from the beginning. Scott, I see you there in the lower right corner. I want to recognize Samalit Hogan, our Regional Director of the Mass Small Business Development Center, who'll be speaking in just a moment, as well as Lisa Tots, owner of LT Consulting LLC, who's an alumna of the program and who'll be speaking about the program from the point of view of our alumni. Just a few Western Mass partners whom I believe are on. I want to thank them publicly for their leadership, for their role as nominating partners and what they'll do this year to make sure that small businesses that have never participated before can do so, because the program is totally different and everybody needs a program like this to survive and thrive. I want to recognize Tom Bernard, the City of North Adams Mayor, Julie Cowan from Mass Development, which has been a nominating partner in the past, Peter Miller from the City of Westfield, who's nominated in the past, Rick Sullivan, our dear friend who heads up the Western Mass Economic Development Council, who really helped put us on the map in Western Mass 2 years ago by making some important introductions, and Siobhan Plummer, hope I'm pronouncing your first name correctly, Siobhan, from the City of Springfield. They nominated 16 businesses in 2019. She may not be with us today, but I want to publicly thank the City of Springfield for their leadership. We have a number of alumni on the call here today. We hope you'll participate again, because frankly, even though you've been through the program is totally different. Diego and I will talk a little bit about how it's all changed, because everything that every small business owner does today, tomorrow, next week, has got to be different than it was a year ago for obvious reasons. I've mentioned Diego Portillo Mazal. He'll be speaking in just a few moments. He is the director of the ICCC program, but I want to publicly thank our senior program coordinator, Amber Riano. She took this program on this year, organizing it and overseeing it for the first time on her own, has done a terrific job during really complicated times and complicated circumstances. I see Lisa's applause for Amber, and I echo that applause. I'm applauding here on the screen. Lisa did it virtually. And with that, I'm going to now just make a couple of comments about the program. I mentioned we've revamped virtually everything about the program in response to the crisis. We know that businesses need to survive, but they thrive once again. If you want more information that you can use today to help your small business survive and thrive, go to our website, iccic.org. Click on Learn More right on the home page. You'll be taken right to our Small Business Resource Center. We've got a team internally of 8 people, including our colleague Derek Sexton, who's on the call here, who's been involved with creating and nurturing and growing the Small Business Resource Center for the past 2 months. And I think it's one of the most robust out there: webinars, content, new research, and important information for banks looking for loans, looking for grants of all kinds. Laurie mentioned the $3 million that Berkshire Bank has put into this effort, but there are lots of other programs. And if you want to learn more about those and what source of funding may be appropriate for you, the Small Business Resource Center at icic.org is where you should go. We've got an entirely new set of webinars, a new coaching model. We've got 16 cohorts nationwide. We're going to be doing all of those virtually this year, but we've got a distinguished group of professors whom we've been working with closely in consultation with an outfit called Extension Engine, which is probably the primary and best known deliverer of small business content virtually or digitally or distance learning, however you describe it. They helped build the Harvard Business School online platform over the past 9 years, and we'll have our first ever virtual training session, the Boston seminar, starting next Tuesday afternoon and next Thursday afternoon, and we'll be sharing details of what we're going to be doing in Springfield and in Western Massachusetts later on in this call. Diego will spell it out in much greater detail. So without any further delay, I've mentioned Samalid Hogan. Samalid is one of the most impressive people we know in Western Massachusetts. She's been given awards, 40 Under 40 Business West Award for her leadership, community impact, and accomplishments. I won't cite, in the interest of time, all the awards she received. She has been an extraordinary partner in so many ways. Top nominator and partner in 2018 and 2019. She moderated our capital panel at the 2019 opening seminar, nominated 19 businesses in 2019. So please welcome Samalid Hogan. Samalid is the Regional Director of the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center. There could be no more important resource for small businesses in Western Massachusetts than what Samalid and her team do right now. Samalid, take it away.
Thank you so much, Steve, for your kind words. I really appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. We're so happy to be here today participating in this call, and very proud to be a nominating partner of the ICCC program for the last several years. And as Steve mentioned, we've worked with many, many businesses here in Western Mass. Several of them we have nominated for the program. I have gone through it. So real quick about my organization with the Small Business Development Center, as Steve mentioned, what we provide is one-on-one confidential business advisory services to existing and prospective business owners. So for us, it was very clear that it would make sense to partner and assist Steve in the ICCC program in nominating businesses that could use that extra help. Because we have limited time to work with each one of our many, many businesses that we work with, it makes sense to nominate those that we thought could use this program to continue to grow and get the skills and the knowledge and the support they needed to get that extra capital. Or perhaps it's not about money. It could just be about connections. It could be about just learning new skills or professional development even for the small business owners. So those are some of the resources that many of the businesses that we've nominated found helpful, not just the money, but also those connections, especially with their peers. Many of the business owners that we've talked to were very impressed and very grateful to have the opportunity to meet with so many other business owners in this area. It does lead to collaborations. It leads to creating a community, a strong niche community of people that have the same goals in mind, which is to grow their business and strengthen their communities. And I think that's so much more important now, especially after what we've been going through with COVID-19, to be able to give the opportunity to someone to rebuild their business, to grow again, to give them that hope that they need to be able to rise again. And so I strongly encourage all of you folks who are listening out there, whether you're a past participant or another organization in the area who supports small business like we do, to please think hard about those folks who you want to reach out to. I know it's really hard to do that right now because, well, we can't do it in person. We have to make phone calls. We might have to do a couple of emails or video calls, but I do encourage you to make that extra effort to do that, because I think it's really worthwhile. I would want to tell you about two of the businesses that we had nominated in the past that are doing very, very well. One of them is on this call, so I'm going to call them out. Open Pitzel, Will Colon and his team. Kathy. And so they've just been a great group of folks to work with, and they're doing so well. And they are located at the VV Hub, Valley Venture Mentors co-working space, downtown Springfield. They went through the program not just once, but twice, I believe. So it is possible to go in a second time. This time around, though, we want a lot of new participants. Another great business that went through the program was Jeff Scranola. Jeff Grime, really good person. And he went through rebranding after going through the program, and it looks very strong. He even won an award this year from the SBA, and it was so exciting. But because of everything that's going on, I think that all got pushed off. But and I probably shouldn't have said that because they haven't said the press release yet. But Jeff Grime, they're just he's just an amazing entrepreneur. He's got a good team, and he's growing his business thanks to all the support that he's received. I'm sure he will be the first one to admit that you can't do it alone. As an entrepreneur, you just can't do it alone. You have to seek help, and here's help. And then we are the connectors. We, the people who are supporting small business and community, are the connectors. And this is a call to you to give you the opportunity to be that connector and that bridge to the small businesses in our community to have access to this great program. So that's all I have to say. If you have any questions, let me know.
Well, Samalid, we're going to have some time for Q&A, and given the role you play as the director of the Small Business Development Center, so you are right at the heart of the matter when it comes to helping small businesses survive and thrive, get capital, get some coaching on an emergency basis. You mentioned taking the program the second time and that we want a lot of new businesses. We want both this year. We want businesses that have been through the program to think about whether they should take this a second time, because as Diego will explain in just a few minutes, the program has totally changed to meet the needs of this crisis. What businesses needed a year ago, they need very different things today. And the professors, the webinars, the coaching will be totally different and is totally different. But when they need help on a day-to-day basis on a granular level, and they call Samalid Hogan, you can't do any better than that. So we're grateful as always for your friendship and for your leadership. You mentioned alumni. I want to recognize a few alumni who are on the call. Gary Rule from Auburn Sun, a 2019 participant. Dawn Leaks, Lioness for the Female Entrepreneurs, 2018 participant. Simone Sloan, MBY Professional Coach, a 2018 participant. William Colon from Open Pixel Studios, also 2018 participant. Christina Baza from Saltbox Seasoning. There may be other alumni, but I wanted to thank you for joining us, because the best, if you want to use the word, the best salespeople for this program are people who have been through the program, people who have known what they needed, people who have seen an opportunity to learn and grow, and people who have benefited from the program. And I can't think of anybody better to make that case and to talk a little bit about the program and its impact on her business than Lisa Tots. Lisa Tots is the owner of LT Consulting LLC. She's a solopreneur. It's a word that I never saw before, but I saw it on your bio and I said, that's a word I'm going to start using a little more often. She's a solopreneur business consultant focused on process efficiency and effectiveness as an engineer and Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt for small business. That is a mouthful. And rather than telling you a lot more about Lisa's business, I'm going to let her tell you more about what she felt she needed, what were her barriers to growth, how she was able to gain business knowledge, how she was able to secure quality employees, because human capital is the most important asset any of us have. So without any further delay, let me introduce our alumna of this program and our alumni speaker here this morning, Lisa Tots. Lisa?
Good morning, and thank you, Steve, for that nice introduction. As you said, I am the owner of LT Consulting, and I do focus on process efficiency. I will not go through the Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt because it's far too challenging to share that. But as a consultant, I help businesses become more efficient in day-to-day activity, just as I train my body to be efficient on the bicycle as a cyclist and an endurance triathlete. By reducing the wasted motion on the bike and the run, It means I can have more energy for the duration and not fail. I've completed 7 Ironman triathlons, but I have attempted 9. I know what it means to fail and to succeed, and I know the costs and the rewards of doing the things the right way and the wrong way. I've been known to say that there are 5 parts of triathlon: swim, bike, run, nutrition, and mental game. I'm not very good at the first 3, but I have a firm grasp of the last 2, which have allowed me to succeed. Something similar can be said about many businesses: a solid foundation, but challenged by other facets. I help business owners identify the improvement opportunities and eliminate obstacles to their success. Understanding my clients' needs and the difficult work was the easy part of LT Consulting, but marketing a profitable business was another story. My messaging was unclear, and many didn't know how to introduce and refer me to clients. Through the ICIC program and resources, I identified accessible language and ways to market my business with proper messaging. I learned that I leveled the playing field for small and medium businesses by offering tools used by big business, much less mumbo jumbo than Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt. The resources introduced to me at the kickoff were useful, and they had encouraged me. Having reviewed the impact report and learning who the alumni, sponsors, and peers were was very informative and made this accessible to me, a solopreneur. When attending the opening seminar, it was inspiring to learn of the success stories of OpenPixel I learned, and it was empowering to share that space with peers that I had admired. And thanks to my friends Dawn and Michael for being there that day, because that was very beneficial to know people that I looked up to were in the same positions that I was in. I attended quite a few webinars, not only because it was a requirement, because I thought I could learn something, and I did. Contract negotiations. The timing for that webinar could not have been better, as I was struggling with a large contract negotiation. I felt the client had taken the terms definition away from me, and I was at a loss with what my next move was, as I'd never had that happen before. The seminars were helpful to give me the insight to negotiate and land the contract. I learned marketing strategy insights, because this is not my forte as an engineer. I say, you don't understand my words? Why not? Regarding emotional intelligence, I found significant value in the webinars that helped with that. As a change agent, I influence others all the time when I'm doing the work, but taking a step back and acknowledging that I could and should have more emotional intelligence in client sourcing was insightful, and it was not a given for me. Again, remember, I am an engineer. Complex thought? Sure. Insight? I think emotional intelligence and I are becoming closer friends. I learned about leveraging certifications, networking, as well as coaching opportunities. The how-tos, so beneficial as a female engineer in a woman-owned business. It does matter to many, and I never took advantage of that, but I learned through the program the opportunities that abound. I found the app to be a great resource, keep the ICIC at my fingertips and at top of mind. It helped me keep informed about the webinars and access to many of the program offerings. So why should we participate and why should we nominate others? I've been lucky to have this opportunity to grow with partners, mentors, guides, and motivated business owners who want to share their success, as well as their struggles, so we can grow and learn from our experiences. I always knew, and it rang true during this, that you don't know what you don't know. And I found each day in each interaction in the program that I grew for an opportunity for my future. At the national conference in November, I was reminded that we are but one part of a national organization that is helping businesses succeed and achieve more by accessing needed funds to grow. And I connected with many, including a brewer in Maui, Hawaii, an instructional organization for restaurateurs and employees here in Massachusetts, bankers, and bilingual specialists who have been connections. The program connected me with resources that enabled the clarity of messaging so that I can share that I see small to medium businesses leveraging big business ideas for breakthroughs, growth, sustainability, and transformative success. Thank you, Steve.
Sorry, I just had to unmute myself. Thanks, Lisa. We appreciate your advocacy for the program. We appreciate that you believe that this had a meaningful impact, and was particularly struck by the fact that you took many of the webinars and you found them to be valuable. As we said earlier, and as Diego will restate, what we did last year, what we did in 2018, has got to be different in 2020. The core fundamental principles of entrepreneurial finance, of team building, of leadership effectiveness, of marketing, of e-commerce, of strategy, those are all true. But the ways in which you weave in new ideas to meet the challenges of this defining moment in our lives, as Bill Gates said it so aptly recently, you've captured all of that. And whether somebody's taken the program in 2018 and 2019 or saying, why should I do this for a second or a third time? I think Diego will answer that in just a moment. So Diego leads a team of 10 professionals, including Amber Iano and Derek Sexton. This is a team that last year worked with over 1,000 small business owners all over the country, including well over 100 right here in Massachusetts, and a big chunk of those right in Springfield and in Western Massachusetts. We're looking to repeat that in terms of impact in 2020. And to tell you a little bit about the program, how it's evolved, what changes we've made, and why this has such a sense of urgency, and how our nominating partners can take it and run with it in 2020, beginning this morning. Let me now introduce the director of the Inner City Capital Connections program, Diego Portillo Mazal. Diego?
Thank you, Steve, and welcome everybody once again. Thank you, Lisa. I think between you and Samad, you probably have stolen much of my thunder in selling this program. I think that was incredible, and you talked about a lot of the elements of the program, so I think this is great. First, I think the important part is, as we address this pandemic and its effects on the economy, the first thing we did was to create a small business resource center that you can find on our webpage that curates and accumulates resources that we keep finding from our partners across the country. So it's not just what's available in Springfield, but what's available in Michigan and in California, et cetera. So there's a lot of resources there from us, from our partners, and so forth. We've also accelerated so many of our webinars to address crisis management, to address some of the very pointed things that some of our participants and alumni had asked for right away. We've done a number of webinars on the status of the CARES Act and the PPP and PPP 2.0 with some of the partners like Berkshire and the City of Boston and the Black Economic Council and Small Business Majority and Acción and so many more. So a lot of that acceleration. Now our program, the core elements of the program will not change. We're still going to have an opening seminar with a lot of instruction on strategy, marketing, entrepreneurial finance, talent management, but all of it restructured to deal with the current circumstances, to make it timely, to talk about survival, resilience, and regrowth. So that, as we address in a little bit, is being held in a virtual format this year with lots of elements to make it an interactive learning experience and not just a webinar. The webinars will continue, and they are much more tactical. They have to do with things like contract negotiation. And we just held one, for example, on how to negotiate with your landlord regarding rents and things like that, which so many of our participants are addressing at this point. A number of those webinars are already scheduled, and a lot more coming through from the suggestions and needs of our participants as we go through the year. Coaching, and coaching takes an increased element this year. Samal had talked about emergency technical assistance from her point of view. I see Len Grendon is in the room representing SCORE, and SCORE is an incredible organization that has provided mentorship and coaching to so many of our participants across the country, but they have the ability to spend the time with you at this juncture to help with navigating the landscape of what's available out there for emergency funding. Is it the PPP, and how do you fill out that paperwork? Is it the EID, or is it a grant that may be available in Western Mass? All that stuff takes time, takes effort, takes organization, takes paperwork, and SCORE and the SBDC and Somalid and others are ready to assist. But of course, there's also the part that is a little bit longer term that has to do with restructuring your business, pivoting and rethinking where you're going to be as we come back to work, as we come back to a new normal, or whatever that circumstance is going to be for you, for your industry, for your city, etc. And then finally, the national conference. Lisa spoke well about the opportunity to connect with people outside of our regular circle. We see a lot of power in that connection between small business owners in a city like Springfield, but multiply that when you get to connect with a brewery in Maui or someone else to do a different type of interaction. We've seen alumni from Sacramento suddenly meet someone in Birmingham and end up doing business together. So all these elements together, the national conference will definitely have a different feel this year. It may be fully virtual, it may be partially virtual. A lot of that to be seen between now and November. Amber, can we move to the next slide? I think we talked a little bit about this, but again, some of the main points of our program and how it's changed is adjusting the curriculum to focus on survival, resilience, and growth. All those things are important. And even if you participated in the program last year and you met some of these very same professors last year, the content will be very different and the focus will be very different this year. We will be offering the seminars as a virtual series. That means 2 half days as opposed to a full day in the same week. It will still contain strategy, marketing, entrepreneurial finance, talent management, and a resource panel. Last year, the panel focused on what are capital providers looking for. This year, we'll focus a little bit more on what's available, what are people doing, what are people's needs in terms of technical assistance, as I mentioned before. Expanding the coaching program, I've already mentioned how many of our partners are ready to do emergency and short-term technical assistance, as well as longer-term coaching and mentoring. And finally, obviously, a lot of our capital provider partners are working to help people navigate the financial constraints of this time. I think Lori made a very compelling case for how some of the community banks, and Berkshire in particular, have been working not just with their own customers, but with new connections, because so many of our small businesses did not have firmly established relationships with their banks until this point. And then finally, one of the things that participants had asked for, and I think it's super important this year as we move to a virtual format, is this idea of creating CEO groups so that you're able to connect with what would have been the equivalent of the people at your table and have a conversation and a group to follow through the year, to touch base with, complete program components together, watch a webinar and discuss together, and have a touch point with other people and learn from your peers and continue to connect throughout the year. Amber, we'll move to the next one. Obviously, this year, you've heard us in the past talk about the program criteria and talking about how we traditionally work with businesses doing $500,000 in revenue. Obviously, in the past, we have made exceptions based on industry or adjustments based on industry, because we know that it's $500,000 in revenue in construction is not the same as $500,000 in revenue in a barbershop. So this year in particular, our feeling is small businesses throughout the Commonwealth and throughout the country are being even more affected. So forget the revenue criteria. We are focused on businesses from under-resourced communities and everybody that we can, who's past proof of concept, that we can help. So we will move on from there. We will be welcoming so many of the alumni and looking forward to seeing new companies in the program. And the next step is obviously, once again, to reinforce the nomination and application process. If you're wanting to participate in the program, either because you have participated in the past or you see value in it this year, please go ahead and apply. If you know a business that would benefit from the program, go ahead and identify them. Let them know that you're nominating them for this program. Let us know that you're nominating them for this program, and we will handle the follow-up. We will do the phone calls, we will do the emails, we'll follow up with them, we'll interview them, and guide them through the 10-minute application, and we will let you know what's going on so that you are not surprised about their application or non-application or whatever it is, that whether they chose to delay it or whatever it is that they've chosen to do. Amber? So again, we're looking to kick off in August. So would love to have your nominations between now and June and the end of June. Please, the more time we get, the more opportunities we have to connect with those businesses, but we will work with you. So if you want us to help you draft some language for an email or something to explain how the program has been updated, or want to host an info session and do a little webinar and we can get some people together and answer any questions they may have, we will do all of that and look forward to connecting with them on that. Go ahead, Em. Last but not least is obviously save the dates. As I said, we're leading these as virtual seminars. So instead of one day, it will be 2 days, Tuesday, August 11th and Thursday, August 13th afternoon from about 12:30 to 5. And we will get you an agenda and everything else as we go forward. So with that, I'd like to open the session up for questions.
Diego, this is Steve. If one of the nominating partners wanted to potentially listen in on one of the earlier virtual training seminars, the one that we're running next week on Tuesday and Thursday, which is the Boston cohort, the following week, which is the Philadelphia cohort, but the content will be relevant to anybody. If they're interested in listening in and wanted to participate, even if they wanted to listen in a couple of hours just to see how the rhythm of the program goes, would they be able to do that?
Absolutely, and that information will go out in the email that that Amber will be sending after this call, with all these slides and everything else. So our material for those 2 May opening seminars will be included. I don't think I mentioned, and I don't think Steve mentioned, but thanks to the generosity of our sponsors, all the elements of this program are free to all the participants. So, any other questions? In that case, I'll turn it back over to Steve.
So in conclusion, just let me let you know that number 1, the slide deck that Diego presented portions of, it's got packed with more information than he was able to go through, will be sent to each of you as soon as this is over, within the next couple of days. Number 2, you'll get all the nominating partner materials. Number 3, if you want to listen in on one of the virtual seminars, we're happy to have you do that. I don't think there's a small business in Springfield, Chicopee, Holyoke, Westfield, Greenfield, Pittsfield, or any of the other communities that may not be cities but are still under-resourced or underserved that can't use this program this year. For those who think they've been through it and know it, the content will be dramatically revamped. I've already seen some of the materials that our professors have developed. I've seen some of the webinars, the content of the webinars. Things are just totally different. Cash flow is king right now. How do you pivot in terms of your HR? If you furloughed people, how do you bring them back? Are there legal issues involved? Are there different forms of ownership? ESOP, employee stock ownership plans, cooperative ownership. Webinars will be developed and are being developed to cover every one of these topics. So this is a year when there's something there for everybody, everyone who's in crisis, who doubts potentially that they'll ever be able to open up again. We hope we can provide the tools to be able to help you survive, lead, and thrive during this crisis. So we're enormously grateful to all of you, to Amber, to Derek, to Diego, to my colleagues, Mass Mutual and Berkshire Bank, without whom we couldn't run this program, to those longtime partners, including, I'll mention him again, Rick Sullivan, who really helped put this program on the map back in 2018. We're profoundly grateful. Let's rock and roll. Let's put together a great cohort, and let's really make a major contribution to the economic revitalization of every one of these small businesses throughout Western Mass and throughout the 4 Western counties. Thank you so much for being with us. You'll hear from Amber shortly, within the next day or 2, and we look forward to a great year together, even during this time of great stress and crisis. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.